I want to call to order the Building Trades Examining Board in New Smyrna Beach. Have a roll call, please.
Bill Coward.
Here.
Arthur Von Bulen is absent. Frank Dalton.
Here.
Robert Werner.
Here.
Bill Coward. I already got you on here. Paul Here.
Here.
Heidi Hales Walker. Absent. Did I miss someone? Okay, Joseph. Joseph Blanchett is here.
I'm here.
I'm going to fix you on my other ones over here too so I don't miss you. That concludes roll call.
Thank you. We have anyone who had any ex parte communications regarding the cases we have this evening?
No.
Let the record show that we have none. Did you all receive your copy of the minutes from last month's meeting? Do we have any comments or motions? We'll make a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Bill Coward.
Aye.
Frank Dalton.
Aye.
Robert Werner.
Aye.
Joseph Blanchett.
Aye.
Paul Here.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We have the swearing in of city staff.
Let's hold off just a minute. Barb went to go get something and she'll be doing most of the talking, so
Okay.
I think. I'll give her just a minute to get back. Gentlemen, when you speak up here, when you're finished, if you don't mind signing my form so that I can make sure I get your name spelled correctly and know who's here and what's what. And Barb's back. So we are ready for the swearing in. If you plan on speaking today, please do stand and swear in with everybody. Ready?
We'll have swearing in of the city staff, please.
Please stand and raise your right hand and state your full name. In the matter to which you are about to give testimony, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? The witnesses have been sworn in.
Thank you. First case is old business. It's 620 Dust Street. And the owners are Warren M. Bell, Donald T. Bell, Reginald Bell, Neville Leon Bell, Alicia Bell, Roundtree. We hear the report from city staff.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this property was here last month, and the board gave the property owners 30 days to secure the structure and 60 days to come in with a plan whether they were going to demolish the property or if they were going to try to rehab the property. I've conducted some site visits over the last month, and the property has been secured, and I haven't heard from the property owners. I'm not sure if Steve or Gary has or not, but the property is secured at this time as required by the board and before this hearing.
Thank you.
I also want to add that the certified mail was mailed, and then the property was also posted.
You have anything from Gary or Steve?
The building department has not been in contact with the owners.
Would anyone from the owners like to address the board?
one at a time, please. One at a time, please.
Good evening. My name is Roland Blossom. I'm an attorney. I'm a New Smyrna Beach boy. I was born on Washington Street about maybe 30 years ago, something like that. But I live in Daytona Beach now, and I've been back there, since 1976, practicing law there. I'm here tonight, first of all, to thank you for the opportunity to move this forward. I'm the attorney that handled the probating of Mrs. Bell's, of her estate. It was a handful, but we were able to get that estate closed. Her husband, Mr. Bell, his estate had to be probated before we could probate Mrs. Bell's estate because they were, anyway, it was separate property. There were separate properties. There were separate interests. There was a separate child that wasn't a child of both. So there were some complications that caused us to have a bit of a problem getting her estate closed. But we finally got it closed, and I think, most of you probably know Mrs. Bell and knows that, she was a city commissioner and just a New Smyrna Beach person at heart. But she served this community in a lot of ways, and we really would like to continue to preserve her legacy, which is her home that she and her husband built in 1950. We were hoping that we would be to the point where we could have this resolved before now, but about a year and a half ago, one of the family members, Mr. Bell and his brother, had a third brother who has 3 children, and one of those 3 children decided that he wanted to buy the property. We had received a contract for the sale of it. He decided he wanted to buy it, and we agreed to try to work with him, but whatever his plans were fell through. We put it back out to sell it, and we had a couple of offers. We had someone who actually gave us a contract on it, which was not fulfilled because he raised his voice and said he wanted to keep the property in the family, and he wanted to rehab it and live in it himself. And we were more than willing to try to get that done, but he couldn't get it done. So recently we got a renewed offer to purchase the property. Once again, he raised his head, and we tried to get paperwork, to show that's what was going to happen, and he never responded. So at this point, we put the property back out on the market. We do have a buyer. We have a contract, and I'd just like to give each of you a copy of this contract. May I?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, the terms of this contract require that the closing date on the sale would be around the middle of August, right? And we're anticipating that we're going to close well before that. But let me tell you the little tangle that we have. We're not sure how it's going to work out, but we're going to try to make it happen. As you see, there are 5 owners. There are 3 children of the Bell brothers' deceased brother, and the 2 of them, they're on the same page. They're ready to move forward with this and get their mother's property in the hands of someone who's going to take care of it. The buyer of the property is also here with us today, and to answer any questions you may have, and also to let you know what he's planning to do. Ironically, by the way, he's the same person that bought the house right next door to the Bell property and rehabbed that property and put it back on the market, and that's what he does. He's, last 3 or 4 years, he has, in the East Volusia County area, he has rehabbed about 10 houses and provided great living opportunities for people. And that's what he's trying to do here. And we're happy about it because he's a quality developer. Rehabber really is what he is. He puts the best of everything in and tries to make it so that it's going to last for folk. And that makes us feel good because that's an important piece of property and to that side of New Smyrna Beach. So first of all, we appreciate what you've done by not moving this to condemnation and demolition. As you know and you've seen by the pictures, this is not the kind of house you just knock down. Unfortunately, a roof problem developed that wasn't taken care of, and it created some problems inside. And the buyer of this property's intent is to tear all of that out and to get his building permits to move forward to make this happen as soon as we can. In order to expedite that, in addition to the contract that you have, we also have an agreement for deed that we prepared that authorizes him to take possession of the property at this point, to pull whatever permits he needs to pull in order to get started with the process. And with that in mind, I'm really here tonight to ask for this board's authorization to move away from the requirement of the professional engineer to come in and do a study and a report and the rest of it. This is a man who has a history with this city, who is going to develop this property. And I noticed on just the last meeting, this property was always indicated as one that was rehabbable, that could be brought back up to standards with, by the staff. But it kind of surprised me that we got a recommendation from the staff that it be condemned and destroyed. But the board saw needs to keep it in play. But there's one provision requiring the professional structural engineer's study and report is something that is not. Even at the last meeting, there was another house that was indicated as significantly flawed. And the board's decision on that was to give them 30 days to secure it and make it safe, and 60 days to start pulling their permits. And that's what we would like to ask you to modify this arrangement so that he can start pulling his permits. And as I said, we have the and we're signing that this afternoon if it's what you require. And I think under the circumstances, because it is a contract for sale, it's not a sale itself yet. It is a contract, and as a contractual party, you don't really have the right to pull the permits. But this document does give him that right to actually, he's authorized to pull the permits and start moving forward to take possession immediately. So with that in mind, you want me to find that page, Mr. Chairman?
But question on the real estate contract.
Yes, sir.
By no stretch of the imagination an attorney, nor do I possess a Juris Doctorate.
I'm having a little trouble hearing you, sir.
By no stretch of the imagination an attorney, nor do I possess a Juris Doctorate, but if there is multiple owners of this property, is this real estate contract even valid with only 2 of their signatures?
It only requires one owner. It only requires one owner in order to make a valid
But if
contract.
one of the 5 or 6 subordinate owners say, no, we don't want to do this, can they force that sale?
Well, the answer is yes and no. First of all, we're hoping that, and that is something we've certainly recognized and why we're needing sufficient time to make sure we can get through this process. The person who indicated that he wanted to buy the property could be an objector. Everybody else is on the same page. His 2 siblings, they're ready to sell. He, we believe, will go along with this. But if he doesn't, there is a legal process, it's called partition, where the court makes the decision as to whether or not the property is going to be sold. And that, we think, will probably, it's not going to be very timely, and
Well-
which is why we think it's necessary to go ahead and start pulling the permits and getting the property.
What would prevent that other party from having an attorney file like a lis pendens or something against it?
We can't sell it without him. And if we can't sell it without him, then we would ask the circuit court to enter an order of partition. And what the order of partition does is order that the property be sold. And of course, we have a valid contract, and it would essentially give legs to that contract, and the property would be sold even though the one party would not be in agreement.
Is the other party the standout on this situation? Is this someone that's here locally, or?
Yes. Yes, sir.
I'm assuming they have no desire to attend any of these meetings.
Apparently not. Yeah. Oh, at the last meeting? He was here at the last meeting.
One thing you've asked is about the releasing of the engineers thing. I don't think that this board has the authority to do that, because I think that's something that the inspectors, the inspection department has to determine what they need as far as getting the permit issued. Am I right on that?
Good evening, my name is Stephen Woodworth. I am the deputy building official. I am a Florida state licensed residential building inspector and an IC certified property maintenance inspector. When I made the inspection on this property, I did observe what I would consider a significant structural defect, and that's why I would ask that a professional engineer evaluate the property and to make sure that the structural defects were addressed in its repair.
That was my understanding from the last go-around. We weren't requesting them produce structural engineering rather than have an evaluation at the recommendation of staff. While staff is up there, I would ask, this Hillary Real Estate Holdings LLC, the gentleman had mentioned there was other buildings in the area that were done by them. Have we had, from the city point of view, good, consistent working pedigree with them on the properties?
I am not familiar with that applicant, sir.
Is the property secured according to the city
Yes, sir.
properly now?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I guess for myself, I understand what you're asking, but it feels as if all we've requested is the recommendation of staff for y'all in the next 30 days to at very least have an engineer or a structural engineer evaluate the property. The concern being is it's fine, we can extend or change things to the day they come home, but if that upper structure falls and hurts somebody, the property is sitting without any type of risk insurance. That's the concern. The concern is not to be negative or detrimental, it's just to find out what's really going on there.
And of course, we're not asking to bypass any inspections or anything. We're asking simply for the right to go ahead and pull the permits so that the process can start and the inspection folk here at the city would be able to evaluate whatever needs to be done. They're not going to approve it, certainly, if there are structural defects.
But for clarity, you're getting ready to sign over, for all intents and purposes, the rights for the purchaser to start working on and/or being involved with this. You guys are willing to execute that document and proceed forward, correct?
Yes, sir.
And is the gentleman in the audience the purchaser?
Yes, sir, he is.
So, for my confusion, if there's 30 days from today's date to address that, and he's extending himself out or his company out respectively, I guess I'm confused where the difficulty would be to get an engineer or a structural engineer to come out and say yes or no. Certainly, if I was going to remodel a home and the concern was there, that's something we would want to look at. So I feel as if it's very easy to get to where we requested you all be in the next 30 days, unless I'm just confused by something here.
Well, no, it's, I don't know, it's almost a matter of fairness, if you want to call it that, because at the last meeting, there were two items on the agenda, one at 702 Myrtle, I believe, and this one at 620 North Dust. And this one was treated differently, and I really have no idea as to why, because this one was indicated as having less significant damage than the one that was approved to move forward and get their permits.
With all due respect, they're two separate matters, sir, and one's a one-story structure that had structural issues underneath. This is a two-story structure that has signs that is indicative of collapse, so they're vastly different, in my opinion.
Okay.
But the report for the structural engineering for the house, is that something that the city would require before they could actually submit for permits? Or is that more just for information to find out if the house is worth rebuilding or not?
Well, we would require a licensed designer, whether it be architect or engineer, provide plans that show, what was going to be addressed and how the repairs were to be made.
Right, so if they came in and just applied for permits to rehab the house, they would just have to have structural engineering showing what they're planning on doing.
We would need a set of plans by a Florida licensed design professional that would indicate the repairs that were going to take place, yes, sir.
Right, okay.
So it's more for, it would be required for permitting, not just because the city is curious.
Right, okay.
I guess that's my confusion here. If the gentleman in the audience is going to get this signed document and starting to be able to maintain or work on the property as if it were his own, as recent or as soon as tomorrow, is the intent not to rehab the home because he's going to have to do this regardless?
Well, certainly it would, but if you look at the minutes from the last meeting, it indicated that there would be a total of 60 days to get that plan in place, and if it were not done within that time period, then it would, as the motion reads, it would automatically go to condemnation and demolition. That's what's indicated in that motion, and all we're asking is that part of it not be a part of this process and allow us to move forward with getting the permits and going through the inspections and presenting the plan and do everything that everybody else does without having, that kind of a hammer hanging over our head.
Yeah, I follow you there. Would it be gregarious or cavalier to ask the gentleman who's intending on taking possession of the property to speak and maybe set out a plan for us?
Sir,
Yes,
one thing, the motion that was made at the last meeting said that at the 60-day point, if that had not been taken care of, that the property would be considered for condemnation. We have not condemned the property as of this point.
Okay. I may have misread it.
It's on the screen if you can read that.
Oh, I can do better right here. Yeah.
See, that's 60 days from this meeting, or is it 60 days total?
Well, he's
From
looking
the
for his
last meeting.
information. I do have some photos that were taken this week to show that the property is secure. And I also want to correct myself. I did meet with a couple of the folks that are involved with this case yesterday. I have these two properties mixed up. I apologize.
So there's still another 30 days to get some kind of engineering report, and that would put you towards the end of June. Our next meeting would be on July 27th.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, just speaking as normal as can be. I thought that's what staff was asking for, was we just want to know a structural engineer says, yeah, we do need plans and we need time, or no, it doesn't need it, but just.
And you would need that no matter what.
Right, I didn't think they were coming in and getting a building permit and getting under the wire and getting engineering approved, so I was under the impression that's what we were speaking about.
Well, actually, the language in the motion does say that if conditions are not met, then move forward with condemnation. Maybe it was, not a verbatim transcription, but that's what it says.
I follow you there. I see
Yeah.
what you're saying, and I see what you're asking. I think there's a middle ground to be had here, but I think just saying, we'll wait until August and listen again is a different step. I think maybe a little more clarity on this sentence, but I just don't want to hear nothing's going to be done and this is going to be revisited.
Oh, no, trust me, you won't have that problem. This is the last time you'll see this ugly face on this issue.
So what kind of time frame were you looking at before we can get this ball rolling on this,
You indicated the sale would take place
right?
sooner than August 18th?
The sale could take place as soon as next month this time. And the only thing that would slow us down would be if the one party that is an owner resists the sale. Otherwise, we're ready to move forward. Everybody is in a posture where we're ready to move forward.
Let's hear what the gentleman that'll be purchasing it's intending.
Hello, my name is Nathaniel Hillary. I'm the owner of Hillary Real Estate Holdings. Mr. Blossom is a guy that he's helped me get, properties. He go through the probate process, and most time when the family is probated, they want to sell it, and I usually a guy that buys it. So the rehab is no problem. I have purchased houses that you probably wouldn't want to walk in, and I can show you pictures of them, and they turned out beautiful. I've done historic houses. I'm from Sanford. I've done stuff in the historic district, and this is what I do for a living, and I take it serious. My plan is I always get permits. I have a GC, best friend of mine. He pulls all my permits. I have all the subs in place. I have everyone in place. Actually, the structural engineer, that wouldn't be a problem. I can make a call. I don't know just how quick he can get out, but I'm pretty sure within the next couple of weeks, if that's required, I can get him out there. I definitely don't want it to be condemned, because once it's condemned, I bought a condemned property and they take you through the ringer. So I'd rather get it where it's easier to pull a permit before it goes through the condemnation phase and get it done. But my plan is, if you haven't seen it, it's a two-story and it has a bunch of stuff in there. So I'm looking at, it may take 2 weeks to get all the stuff out of it. Like I said, I get the structural engineer done. My only problem is, well, it's not a problem. My only thing that I'm concerned is, like Mr. Blossom says, there's one guy, one family member that's not on board with them
There's
as of
always
right now. As of right now. That's the reason why I always put it out further, because, going through a title company, in order for me to get a clear title, it can't really have code enforcement issues as of right now. So I just need enough time with you guys to, hold off the process. I'll get the structural engineering. If that's what you need, to see that I'm moving forward, to see that I'm serious, to see that I get it done, I'll get the structural engineer. I just really would like enough time to get it closed and really to get it in my possession. But if need be, I would get the permits and do whatever we have to. But my only concern, and I'm being honest, is if the one guy doesn't sign. So I'd rather spend the money. I'll get the structural engineering done, because that's less money than going through, starting the rehab process. And he's like, hey, I don't want to sell it. So if that would work, I can get the structural engineering. I submit it to Mr. Blossom. He can submit it to whoever needs to get it done. Whoever needs it, and then we can move forward from there. But we can close tomorrow. The money is no problem as far as the financing for getting it, financing for the rehab. I just need enough time for the family member to sign, everyone to sign, get everyone in place, get it closed. Once it's mine, it's off of their hair, then you'll deal with me and you'll see that it'll be a smooth process, so.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think the first thing was getting it secured, which has been done.
Yes.
And then the next thing would be getting an engineering report. And if you deal directly with the building department within 30 days and provide that to them,
Okay.
then it'll be all right.
Okay.
That would satisfy the requirements of the first meeting from last month. And then it would not go to condemnation. And that would be yet another process. We would have to discuss, it would come up on the agenda, and then the condemnation order would be given by the board.
Okay.
It doesn't automatically get condemned because something didn't happen, but
Okay.
you still have 30 days to provide that. And if you deal with the building department, that shouldn't be an issue.
Okay.
Even at this point, to kind of take the advice of city staff, I'm open to amending it to saying a draftsperson or using the verbiage so it doesn't have to specifically be a structural engineer. It sounds like they were being fairly lenient on the opinion they would have, unless I misunderstood that.
Good evening, Steve Woodworth again. To provide clarification, it does need to be a Florida licensed design professional. They could be an architect, they could be an engineer.
That opens
Licensed in the state of Florida to
broad.
practice their craft.
Design professional. And that is a broader volume of people to select from, correct?
Yes, sir. That it doesn't narrow it to specifically an engineer specializing in structural. That would be an option, but not your only option for a design professional.
Would the building department be more comfortable? I guess my concern is saying to have submitted plans. Would we be comfortable with a written opinion of a Florida licensed design professional?
No, there would need to be drawn buildable plans to make the repairs required at this building.
Would you require submittal for a permit? Or if it was just turned in for evaluation from the city, would that be a good enough, I guess? Or does it have to be a submittal for permitting, or does it have to be, can it be given to the building department for an evaluation? Like, is this good enough to submit?
They can submit an application to tomorrow. I'm not sure that it would be, meet the requirements for issuance. It would be, at the opinion of this board to outline dates, timelines, and what have you, whether you want to allow a continuance with application or you just want to check back in at the July meeting. That would be up to you fine folks. The building department will accept an application and review it for compliance at any time.
Well, here's something else I think I'm a general contractor. It's been my understanding that you must represent the owners of the property to be the person who submits for a permit. it can't be somebody who doesn't own it yet. It must be the owners or their representative that was working on their property. If it hasn't changed hands yet, you couldn't submit a permit, right?
Yes, sir, I share your concerns with that. The building department can issue a permit to a property owner, a contractor, or a design professional. If said contractor applied for a permit and received a permit, and then has an issue with his owner, whoever that may be, that is going to be a civil matter between those parties and not dependent one way or another on the building department's issue of a permit.
Like when the board issues a directive or whatever, makes a decision on any property, it goes on the property, the address, not the owners, right? Typically?
Yes, the way I read this initial determination order is that if they provide structural engineer plans back to the board, it doesn't require permitting at this time. That's what that order says. It just says, all right, you have 30 more days to provide structural engineer plans. So that would be to the board to show that you're making progress. And then it says, if not, they would consider condemnation, but that's a whole process they would have to go through. So I think there may be some
There's some
unnecessary pressure based on what you heard in the motion versus what's in this initial determination letter.
Yeah, from the building department's point of view, we would accept an application and review an application from anyone qualified to make that application. If the applicant found himself in peril with the property owner, I guess he would have to sue for vested interest, but the legal counsel should be answering that.
But it would show that progress was being made and the building department would be happy with that within the next 30 days. So this would probably come up in the meeting in July, right?
Again, the building department is interested in the safety of the structure and correcting the issues. We're not really interested in who owns the property or, what the final
Right.
outcome is.
But as long as progress is being made, that will help satisfy the requirements of
Again,
the
that's
board.
your option. If the board is satisfied with progress is being made, the building department is happy to work with the applicant for as long as it takes to get it done to to the board's satisfaction. We're not looking to necessarily tear this building down just to correct the hazards.
So being that we're not meeting next month and we're meeting again in July, so we can just ask for basic continuance until July meeting, and then that'll give them time to bring some paperwork and show some progress on getting some engineering and hopefully get the house closed on the sale.
They have 30 days left of the original order. If you care to grant a continuance, that's up to you. We'll be available to work with the applicant throughout.
Would a continuance extend that 30 days to 60 days?
Yeah, I think if you continue this hearing to your July meeting, they would have that time. And then we could either issue an amended initial determination or just let the continuance. We could work that out internally.
So if you had another, say, 60 days, would that give you enough time, you think? I mean, we can't speculate on the closing, but that would give you time to get everything in order that you need to start?
Yes, and that's meaning that required is just the structural engineering, right? Okay. Because the place is, it's secure, it's closed up, so no one can get in. So you're just requiring I guess by July 27th that I have a structural engineering,
Give an evaluation, probably at least, and then it would probably help to have some kind of plan in motion. I would deal with the building department for the city for sure, probably sooner rather than later.
It did appear that,
Yeah, the order does say plans, so if you're interested in amending that and making it looser.
I think we should amend it to the verbiage, and at this point, I do have the concern, and I'm going to open this for conversation. a structural engineer looks at it and by the grace of whatever reason goes, actually, no, there's no structural issue here, I don't want to make them forcibly have to go get more than a written opinion if the staff was happy with that. I also felt as if the chief building official was going to say something on this matter, and I,
Just to answer some of my question, I was a little concerned about permitting on the whole thing in itself because of the notice of commencement and the issues and stuff with those commencement. We have a contractor that's working for maybe the owners. I don't know how that would work with the permitting and the notice commencement. I'd have to do a little bit more research. Maybe get Shay or Terry involved with that one a little bit.
well, whoever's making the amended motion is not going to be me, because I can't remember the title he said. Florida Building Design Professional, I believe is what it was.
Okay,
No.
so we want to go ahead and,
I'll make a motion then that we continue this case to the July meeting, July 27th, following the verbiage of the initial determination that we made in the April meeting. Does anything else need to be clarified?
So the initial order says structural engineer plans. So I think there was an intent
Make
to
me do it.
loosen that.
I'll make a motion, we amend the original motion to remove structural engineer and plans to Florida
Design professional.
Design professional and written opinion.
I know that has to go to a second, but can we also put clarification language in there about the condemnation language? Some
I think
clarification.
it's pretty clear from the way it reads right now, considered for condemnation. Nobody's going to, it's a whole notice and
Okay.
different process. So I think it's clear. If the board disagrees, that's their prerogative.
It's
it
clear.
says consider, so.
I agree, I don't feel condemnation is part of this order. It says consider fairly clear.
I'll second the motion.
Bill Coward,
Aye.
Frank Dalton,
Aye.
Robert Werner,
Aye.
Joseph Blanchett,
Aye.
Paul Here.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you very much, sir.
now you
Thank
need
you
to make
all.
the motion to carry to the next meeting now that we've revised
So,
this.
gentlemen, can you
Well,
please
it's
be
done
sure and
now.
sign in?
I don't think
No, that was it.
so. Do we have to make a motion now to carry to the next?
Don't worry about
meeting?
it, just,
That was it.
No, I believe the amended order includes that.
Thank you so much.
the next case that we have is 702 South Myrtle.
Okay, the next order of business is 702 South Myrtle.
If you want that one, we'll take care of them.
Staff recommendation?
So this property at 702 South Myrtle, on May 25th, 2023, the board determined the structure also was given 30 days from the date of the hearing to secure the property and 60 days from the date of the hearing to provide structural engineered plans. The property has been secured. I've been over there a couple of times as well. The property's, everything is secure. There's really nothing, to my knowledge, that's been submitted to the city as far as engineered drawings or anything like that, and no contact has been made by this property owner. I think they left voicemail, and Cindy tried to call them back, and it's still in the phone tag process. I do have a few pictures that I took to submit that, so you can see where the property has been boarded up.
Just for the record, the building department has not had any contact with this owner.
Is the property secured to the city's satisfaction?
Yeah, at last time that we saw the building, it was secured. It no longer poses an attractive nuisance, I believe is the term we used last time.
Is it the city's recommendation that this gets condemned?
It continues to be the city's opinion that this building should be condemned
And demolished.
Despite the owner's good intentions of saving the structure for whatever their intent is with it, they did indicate at the last meeting that they'd been working with an architect and they had plans drawn up that has not been demonstrated to the building department. And the investment that this structure would take to get returned to a state of code compliance is not feasible to make that investment in this building.
And some of these pictures taken on May 15th, there's still an awful lot of debris and stuff laying around the building. So they may have secured the building, but it's still, quite a mess. It doesn't look like they're really putting forth a lot of effort to really clean the place up.
A lot of the stuff has been removed. There is a small area in the back of the property that there is some debris still located. I think some of that stuff there has been reduced. It's just not all completely cleaned up.
All right.
So is is the building department satisfied with it being safe at this point?
Yes, sir.
So that,
Point of clarification, the building department would say that the building is not safe, but we would say that the site was adequately secured to avoid accidental injury by a passing member of the public.
gotcha.
What was our determination at the last board meeting on this case?
They had the 30 days to secure the building.
Which they
and
did.
then 60 days
I
to
don't
submit
think-
the plan.
So they have another 30 days also, just like the last case.
This is this one?
Yes.
I can see why they didn't show up tonight, because if we said 30 days and 60 days to submit, they're thinking they have 30 more days to get plans submitted.
When was the last time anybody at the city had contact with the people who own that property? Was it at the last meeting?
The last time the building department has made contact was at the last meeting. I believe, as Barb testified, that there was some phone communication with the code enforcement department, though it proved to be fruitless.
Yes, they left voicemail for Cindy, and Cindy returned their call, and to date, there has been no actual conversation.
So this case then would be another one that would get continued maybe to the July meeting.
I think it would automatically be on the July agenda. This seems to me like a progress
Right.
report. Tonight's meeting.
I don't think we have to do anything with this one.
It's nice to hear they secured it.
Yeah.
I wish they'd return a phone call, but in their brains, they have 60 days, and they, so,
Well, I would like to make a motion then to continue this case to the July meeting.
Do we need a motion to do that?
I don't think so. This was essentially like a status update.
All right.
Yeah, we don't need a motion. All right.
Okay. That concludes our business. I do have some things I want to address. The board typically gives motions in like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever. I will have
a little calendar with me each month to say what that 30-day mark is, 60-day mark, et cetera. Technically, their 30 days isn't up until tomorrow for this hearing, so I will let you know what that date is, and then the board can determine, do we want to use the 30-day mark, or do we want to use the next hearing mark to make sure we're not telling them we can't have a hearing the day before they still have time to do. Mr. Coward was mentioning too with the condemnation order, that is actually 30 days, has to be 30 days. But I think it would also be helpful to include what date is 30 days. So I will bring that up as we move forward in time as we're making motions. And that's all I have to say.
Do we have anything from our friends at the building department?
No, sir, it's just a pleasure seeing you all guys sat in front of me again. We do have another case coming up possibly on the next hearing. We do have another case coming up, which we signed the order today. So there is another one coming up on the next case.
I do have one question. I don't think it falls into old business. Second to last meeting of last year, there was 2 questions that popped up. One of them was, and I think what elicited it, was the city's ability to do inspections on exposed items like air conditioners, things like that. And at the end of that conversation, there was something the city attorney was going to get clarity on items we were discussing, but they felt that it was the county's responsibility. And I just can't recall us speaking of that, and I can't think of the life of me what it was, and it may be.
I wasn't at that meeting, so I can't speak for it.
Yeah, I don't remember that.
And this is something I can think about for another 4 months and try to remember. I think it was at our last or second to last meeting, and the city attorney was going to get clarity from the county because it was something staff was asking us to opine on.
So do you think it was in the February meeting? Would it be in the minutes that you approved in April?
If I'm not jarring anyone's memory, it may be a moot subject. I think it was on that mobile home out off like Turnbull Bay Road that was like half burnt down, half not. And there was a part of the vote that came up that the city attorney was going to reach out and see or get clarity if it was something we could decide on or it had to go back to the county every time.
The mobile home it burnt down, we had an accessory structure that was still existing, but part of our ordinance is we have to clear the lot. So we've taken everything out, even the one accessory structure that was left and remaining on the one that burned. But
Was that off of Cavito?
pardon me?
Was that off of Cavito
I
Road?
think it was Cavito, yeah.
Yeah,
Cavito,
okay.
yeah.
But
Okay.
in that
I remember that.
conversation, the city attorney said, we can't decide on that. I have to get clarity from the county first. And I remember us all reflecting, going, boy, we could save some time if we knew we could answer that question. And I just can't remember what it was.
I'm sorry, I
It's
don't recall.
possible
I
it
don't
related to the ISBA and the switchover
That-
from.
that was
we
That was
had
during
the-
the,
Service
that was
mobile
during the
boundary area.
ISBA.
Yep, so.
So I'm not crazy.
So when the ISBA was last updated, the county took back the properties that are within the county. So previous to that, city was enforcing county code because of the ISBA. County took it back, county is now enforcing county code, but there was a question about, well, what about the ones that have been started but weren't finished? So the city had to finish any open cases that were there, so which may have been this particular property.
Maybe a moot subject then.
Right, exactly.
We also continued building permits during that period, anything that was started prior to the ISB before it dissolving.
Sounds like I didn't need to talk. I just couldn't remember if it was important or not.
So, Frank, if your question is if that property was taken care of by the city, yes, we did go in. All those structures have been removed because they were under your order. So those properties were removed by the city. So the city has liens on those properties for the condemnation and the removal of the structures.
Fantastic.
that-
That might have been it.
Clear it up at all?
I think so. It's cleared up enough I need it to be. I've been thinking about it for a month.
All right, do we have anything else?
No, sir.
Do I have a motion? Want a motion to adjourn?
You don't need a motion, you
Yeah.
can just
No,
adjourn.
we don't need a motion to adjourn now. Good. Then we'll adjourn. Thank you.